Resuming debate, the honourable member for the honourable parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Canadian Heritage and Multiculturalism.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm glad to speak this morning on support of Bill C-76. The goal of Bill C-76, the Elections Modernization Act, is to modernize Canada's electoral system and to strengthen its integrity by making it more transparent, accessible, and secure. It does so, among other things, by establishing spending limits for third parties and political parties during a pre-writ period, by increasing transparency regarding the participation of third parties in the electoral process, and by expanding the powers of the Commissioner of Canada Elections. The Commissioner's new powers will include the imposition of administrative monetary penalties for contraventions to key parts of the Act, including those governing political financing and third-party activities. In recent weeks and months, we've seen a great deal of news about the influence of foreigners, fake news, and the impact of emerging technologies on elections around the world. The Government of Canada has already included Bill C-76 right upon its introduction in this spring, a number of measures aimed at preventing foreign influence or the malicious use of technology. However, Madam Speaker, new details about undue influence attempts in Western democracies' electoral systems are brought to the public's attention almost weekly. Of course, amendments to the Canada Elections Act only represent one tool at our country's disposal in its fight to protect our democracy. Members of Parliament, political actors, academics, and Canada's civil society at large also have important roles to play, for example, in the area of civic literacy. But I would like to focus my remarks today on the improvements brought to the Elections Modernization Act during its study in committee, which the Government of Canada sees as a great tool aimed at increasing transparency of political advertising practices. In 2017, Statistics Canada was estimating that almost every Canadian under the age of 45 years of age was using the Internet virtually every day, while approximately 80% of Canadians aged 45 to 65 were using the Internet every day. As of April 1st, 2018, Statistics Canada estimates Canada's population at just above 37 million. This means that roughly 22 to 23 million Canadians between the ages of 18 to 65 access the Internet and online platforms virtually daily. Given the impact of new technologies on Canada's lives, the time has come to require more transparency from online platforms during election periods. Online platforms, whether they're smartphones, applications, or websites, which sell advertising space on commercial basis during the pre-writ and election periods, will now be legally compelled to maintain an online registry of all partisan and election advertising messages that they publish. This new requirement will apply to those online platforms having a medium to high reach to persons present in Canada, no matter where the platform is actually located. Each online platform will be required to maintain this registry on the platform itself and to make it fully accessible to the public. The registry will include at least a copy of each partisan election advertising message that have been published during the pre-writ and the election period, respectively, as well as information about the person or entity who authorized the publication of the message. Traditional media such as radio, television, and newspapers offered political ads to Canadians in plain view. They allowed all political actors to be held accountable for the information they share and for the promises they made. In comparison, online platforms allow advertisers to target a very precise segment of the population. Without a registry of political ads, it is impossible for Canadians to know how their neighbors, their families, and their co-workers might be targeted. Bill C-76 says new online platform registry of political ads will help Canadians better understand who is trying to influence them and how. For example, if an election advertising message was targeted to only 50 Canadian electors, a copy of the published advertising would need to be published in that registry. Along with the copy would be found the name of the financial agent who authorized its publication, whether it was the official agent of a candidate or chief agent of a registered party, or one of his or her delegates, or the financial agent of a third party. The Canada Elections Act will require online platforms to maintain public access to the new registry for a minimum period of 2 years after the polling date. This will ensure more transparency on political advertising targeting techniques, as Canadians, including academic researchers and journalists, will be able to take a close look at all messages conveyed by political entities and third parties in their attempts to influence Canadians. In addition, online platforms will be required to safeguard the information found in the registry for a total of 5 years after the polling date. Again, this retention requirement will ensure that the Commissioner of Canada Elections will have sufficient time to initiate investigations and, when necessary, seek access to the contents of the registry. Of course, political entities and third parties will be legally required to cooperate with online platforms by providing them with the information they need in order to publish them on the registry. Political entities, third parties, and online platforms would fail to comply with the new Canada Elections Act requirements could potentially face criminal charges. The Government of Canada recognizes that some online platforms have already announced voluntary transparency measures of the kind I'm talking to you about today. Madam Speaker, this is a helpful development, but on a subject matter as important as Canada's democracy, voluntary measures are not always sufficient anymore. The new Canada Elections Act requirements will ensure that all qualifying online platforms will be subject to the same disclosure rules, and the same minimum information will be made available in each online platform's registry of political ads. These new requirements, along with the bans on use of foreign funding and on selling of advertising space to foreigners, as well as new financial returns required of third parties during the election period, will go a great way into affording Canadians with a more secure and transparent electoral system. I strongly encourage all members of this House across party lines to support Bill C-76, Madam Speaker. Thank you.